Daddy took actually 2,900 boxes of bullion. It was worth £30 million.
It was the nation's wealth, actually.
And the future
Yes.
of paying for the war.
Yes.
I mean, it was a huge, huge gamble.
Bunty's 4 years older than I am, so she was my big sister. So we didn't have many interests together. She had her big friends, and I was usually trailing around after her, as little sisters do. She used to kneel on my tummy and say, "If you tell on me, I'll give you." She was bossy, very bossy.
We were very lucky. We had a very nice house, and mother and father and my sister and myself, and we had a lovely dog called Jip, who we all adored. And Daddy left every morning for the Bank of England. He'd been there all his working life, and he wore a bowler hat and
Yes.
striped trousers, as they did in those days, carried an umbrella.
He was a quiet man, tall and skinny.
A Scot.
We used to call him Daddy Longlegs, didn't we? We didn't see our father because he was at the bank. He came back just once to tell my mother where he was going, and he just collected something like an overcoat, but he took four team members with him, and I gather that they went more or less in the clothes they were wearing when they went to the office that day. They got straight on the train in the evening to go up to Glasgow, but we didn't know any of that, of course. The Nazis were sweeping across Europe, and country after country were falling, and they were crossing across France very fast indeed. And when Paris fell, that's when Churchill decided that all Britain's wealth should be taken out of the country. They were just in huge cages in the vaults of the Bank of England, row upon row of these bars that looked like bricks, and they were very, very heavy. There were many boxes for the gold, and there were 4 ingots or 4 bars of gold to each box, and a great many were gathered together and sent
I
up
think
to
I've got
Glasgow.
the number.
Yes.
Daddy took actually 2,900 boxes of bullion, and at that time, that 1940, it was worth £30 million.
The ship it was like a treasure ship, really. My mother had only 5 days to prepare for us to leave for Canada, so her parents came up from the sea where they lived.
She was in a huge tizzy, really, and so much because to put all our furniture into storage, get rid of the dog, say goodbye to the family. She was leaving her parents, and I remember Granny and Grandpa coming, and that's, I think, the first time I realised that it was really, Mother was in floods of tears, and not having her husband there. And having to cope with us as well.
Must have been very difficult.
Well, of course, we didn't know we were going to Canada.
No, we didn't.
We didn't know anything about it till we got there. We were just told we were going
to
on a
pack
boat.
we had little attaché cases. We were told to pack those with toys, and we were just going away. And Bunty chose Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, models of them, and I had a little toy panda.
And then, of course, we had our gas masks.
I screamed my head off, I'm afraid. I was very naughty. They wanted to fit, well, they had to fit us all with gas masks, and I couldn't bear the smell of this rubbery thing going over my face so tightly. They tried to tempt me. They had children's ones with shaped like a pig or, I don't know, different animals, but I didn't care about that. I just hated them. And, of course, we had to carry them everywhere in a little box. And my mother, I think it was, gave me a bar of chocolate to put in, I think, in case we got caught for a bombing raid, I suppose, and I didn't have anything to eat. It was a bit of a temptation, I must say, having this bar of chocolate always in with the gas mask. I don't know if I ever took a nibble or two. The ship we went on was called the Duchess of Atholl, and it was one of several similar Duchess boats, and they were called the rolling Duchesses because they had no stabilizers, or not much in the way of stabilizers, so they rolled from side to side, and they also had flat bottoms, which meant that when they were rolling, they would rise up on a wave and then they would slam down on the wave, and the whole ship would stop and shudder, and then it would start rolling from side to side. I was very sick, but then
I laid out for the whole trip, really.
She was.
But I think she was upset as well as being very seasick. It was terribly rough. I was a real tomboy. I just loved. We went down to the engine room and they took us into the kitchens. I mean, it was such an eye-opener. We lived a very quiet life at home, which was lovely. But suddenly to have all this excitement and boats and sea and everything, and lots of meals. I tell my grandmother in my letters exactly breakfast, lunch, tea, supper, what I have every day.
We didn't see Bunty at all. She went off with one of the boys from, he was the son of one of the men that went out with my father, and John and Bunty had a high old time. They went off. Bunty was 11. And I remember they chose to sit at a different sitting for meal times, so we didn't even see them for meals.
One of my biggest remembrances is sailing up. It was all wooded on each side of the St. Lawrence, very wide, so you didn't always see both sides. But as you got to Quebec, here was this absolutely fairy lights, because there was no blackout there. Our ship had been blacked out all the way across. And it was just like fairyland. We wondered where on earth we had arrived. It was just amazing. And then the ship stopped there, whether to refuel or water. But we went on to Montreal was our destination. And there on the docks was Daddy.
Yes, he was waiting on the boat
and
for us.
The joy of seeing, because we were all at sea at the same time, so he could have been sunk and we could have been sunk. And Mother must have been absolutely over the moon. Mm-hmm. I shall never forget it.
They greeted the children and took them off the ship. We were proud of our father. Yes, very proud. It was the nation's wealth, actually.
And the future of paying for the war.
Yes.
I mean, it was a huge, huge gamble. Absolutely amazing. But I think that's what Churchill, why he did so well. He had to take these decisions as Prime Minister, and he took them.
I think the total amount that went was something like 180,000 million pounds. I think that's right. Anyway.
You can't get around billions.
No. It was just under $1 billion, yes, it was just under $1 billion.